So the census, in making the case, you already know we want to be in full compliance with the United States Constitution that mandates, that states every 10 years we do a count of the nation. And let's be very clear, especially in this region, when we talk about census, and we say we must count everyone, everywhere, we mean it. We must count US citizens, legal residents, undocumented immigrants, refugees, and yes, those Puerto Ricans that just moved to your area after Hurricane Maria. We must count everyone, everywhere, and I want to make the case for you why that is so important. I'm connecting it to the work that you do through the foundation. Because the money that we don't collect by reporting the real amount of individuals that we have in Pennsylvania is money that the work that you do will come back, to haunt you and to really ask you to deliver in some of the programs that you do for the most less fortunate in the region. It only happens every 10 years. This is better than the election. In Pennsylvania, we vote every 6 months, right? Every 6 months. We have an municipal election, primaries, then we go back again. The census is only every 10 years. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are very proud of being an American citizen or an American resident, there are two things that we are very proud to be Americans. First, you must get involved, civic engagement, voting, and second, is getting counted on the census. This is the largest peace mobilization efforts in the United States. We are mobilizing everyone, every sector, every community. And the good thing is that we are not mobilizing them to send our daughters and sons to Iraq or Afghanistan. We are just mobilizing them here so we know who is living in the United States at the time that we conduct the census. Once again, we must count everyone, everywhere. We want to make sure that we know who live in the United States of America. The census is safe, is private, and is confidential. It is through the federal government. The employees of the census, they do a swearing, very similar to the President of the United States. And if they break that trust, there will be stiff penalizations on them, including about $250,000 in penalties and up to 5 years in prison. And then it's all about federal funding, political representation, resources, smart business decisions, and redistricting. And because I want to keep this in peace and harmony, I'm not going to touch even the redistricting aspect of the census, because I know it's going to be a huge fight coming to Pennsylvania and to many other states. Once again, is in making the case, this is constitutional. The governor, the entire administration, and I know that members of the House and the Senate, we want to be in full compliance with the Constitution. The census is conducted for redistricting, not only at the federal level. You know that we have 100 members of the U.S. Senate, 435 members of the House. Independently of the population, the 435 members will not change. Yes, if Puerto Rico becomes the 51st state of the Union, for example, they will get the 2 U.S. senators just like anybody else, but they will have to be in the mix of those 435 members of Congress. It will also look at the districts, the Lehigh Valley district in the House and in the Senate of Pennsylvania. And then it is at all levels of government. Even the mayors, I'm talking to mayors all across the Commonwealth, and I'm letting them know, this is not only about the House, Senate, and members of Congress, it also is important to you. The apportionment of seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, unfortunately, we are scheduled to lose 1 more seat. We were scheduled to lose 2 seats in Pennsylvania. So now we are going to be losing 1 seat. So if you have members that are elected officials in the U.S. Congress, please give them the bad news to one of them. Because one of them is going to be losing his or her job. Now, why counting everyone is so important? Because we were scheduled to lose 2 seats in the United States Congress. And now if we do a complete and accurate count, we can save 1 seat, and especially for us. In my case as a political scientist, I love the fact that the nation was founded right here in Pennsylvania. that we must continue to be the leaders in the US Congress, in history and in politics. And losing seats in Congress really means it is a detriment to Pennsylvania and our future. And it is all about the distribution of billions and billions and billions of dollars from the United States federal government. You know, we are talking about over $675 billion that are distributed every year because of data provided by Census. Now, that numbers can go higher or lower depending on the year. And for example, we believe that in the next 4 years, whoever is the President of the United States, that person is going to have a very strong agenda on infrastructure. And those infrastructure dollars investments are going to be divided based on the population that we have. So it's important that we count everyone. It provides statistical support for grant applications. I know that many community foundations, as a matter of fact, my dear friend Sam Bressy from the Lancaster County Community Foundation, I'm going to tell him, they invited me in the Lehigh Valley. I am from Lancaster, and you have invited me to speak about census. So he's going to be in trouble. The goal for Pennsylvania is the same goal of the federal government. We are in this together. And it's to count everyone on Census Day in the right place and only once of the person that we get the opportunity to count. The governor established the Census 2020 Complete Count Commission back in September. I joined the commission in February. We have been targeting the House, the Senate, making sure that they provide funding for us to do the work that we need to do. So we don't have to rely so heavily on community foundations and the work that organizations like you do. However, the state of California, even when they are scheduled to lose 1 seat or 2, and Pennsylvania is scheduled to lose 1 seat, California is investing over $100 million in census. New Jersey, $9 million. Maryland, over $5 million. Pennsylvania, $0. Which means, and we are making the case to the House and to the Senate, this is important to you. This is important for Pennsylvania. Let's not play politics. Because the census is, it matters to everyone, both sides of the aisle. And at the end of the day, we have to make sure that that money comes back to Pennsylvania's taxpayers. Because this is a return in our investment. This is not a money that is given to us just because, we have independence all in Philly. It's money that is coming back to Pennsylvania because taxpayers pay for it every year. In February, between February and March, you're going to see group quotas, and those are the count of the population in places like colleges and universities. And please know that you have one of the richest areas where you have a higher education institution, Lehigh Valley, DeSale University, Kutztown University. Those students must be counted where they are on Census Day. So if you have a kid here from New Jersey or Delaware, and that is their home address, those kids must be counted here in the Lehigh Valley, where they are on Census Day. Then we have Census Day, April 1st, 2020. That is the official day by the federal government that is provided. However, when individuals get the form, and this is important especially on the training that you are doing, at the beginning of March, individuals all over the nation are going to be getting the form, reminding them about census, go online and to fill it out. You can start doing it right away. You don't have to wait until April 1st, 2020. And then we have the internet self-response. This is the first digital census in the history of the nation. However, we understand that in Pennsylvania we have some challenges. And we requested for the federal government to really accommodate our request to make sure that we have it online, by paper, and by phone. Because broadband is an issue in so many places in rural Pennsylvania that we wanted to take care of our most vulnerable communities. So individuals are going to be able to have the response between March and July. Then we have, I'm getting home, I can see this. Then we have the updated list And especially in communities that you serve in the Lehigh Valley, that they mistrust government so many times. Diverse communities, minority communities. If they don't want anyone knocking on their doors, because the census workers, the enumerators will, if they don't want them knocking on their doors, they must respond to the census. If not, between May and July of 2020, somebody's going to be knocking on doors asking them to please respond the form. At the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, if you work in economic development efforts, you know that this is the map that we have divided the states. That is exactly the model that we are following in doing the outreach and the education and awareness of Pennsylvanians about census. And why we have to do much more with less? Because in the year 2010, we had about 18 to 19 U.S. Census offices in Pennsylvania. Today, we only have 9. So that was cut in half. So we have to do a lot more with less, and that's why the partnership with the Lehigh Valley Community Foundation is so important. It is so important for an accurate count in the Commonwealth. For us, we are not the official counting entity for the U.S. Census. That is the responsibility of the U.S. Census Bureau. But we believe that we have an enormous responsibility to make sure that we deliver on the most accurate count of Pennsylvanians. So between now and December, we are doing the education phase. We are going everywhere. We are meeting with pastors. We are meeting with local government officials. We are finding the trusted voices in those local communities, because we understand that bringing the governor to some local community will not have an impact that a pastor would have. So we are identifying those individuals and making sure that we have that educational phase of why, we have to localize the census. Why counting is so important, and it involves everyone, not only elected and appointed officials, but everyone in the Commonwealth. Then between January and February, we're going to do an awareness phase, making sure that individuals know the form. We are going to use PSAs, having a strategic marketing campaign through the governor's office, so we touch as many people as possible. We have asked all the cabinet members to provide us with their plan. So we have, the Department of Aging, for example, they have a plan of outreach and awareness for the over 3 million senior citizens in Pennsylvania. The Department of Human Services, we know that they serve over 3 million Pennsylvanians, so they have a plan, to create some awareness and education. The Department of Education. So we are putting all the resources that we can without any money to make sure that we have a complete and accurate count. Then the motivation phase between March and April of 2020. Making sure that people, once again, they feel motivated to do the census, because it is important for Pennsylvania and it is important for the nation. And then the reminder phase, once we know where we are lacking, and there are some packets in your own communities that are going to be projected undercounts, especially in the Lehigh Valley area of Allentown, where you have a predominantly, in the city of Allentown, predominantly Latino community. We know that the community is over 50% of the population. So there's going to be a huge undercount. So we are targeting those areas, especially on the reminder phase. Now, the census is a real anatomy. And many times I have to explain this to many circles around the state, because they don't understand that this is about every single Pennsylvanian. So, the census is about funding. It is important for investments, and especially for programs that you deeply care about the individuals that you serve. And it's about providing dignity and respect to those less fortunate, that we, in the strongest, most powerful nation on earth, were blessed to be able to provide services to individuals that otherwise would not have it in any other place on earth. So it is about funding, it's about political representation, making sure that we are still one of the most powerful states of the Union when it comes to political representation in the United States Congress. It is about resources, smart business decisions. You remember Amazon, last year, they were collecting all this data and information because they wanted to invest over $1 billion to open a headquarters somewhere. Well, they collected all the data for us, but they are not opening the headquarters in Pennsylvania. Because they are, through the data that they collected through all these states, now they are going to be making smart business decisions. So it's important of where we are moving forward. And then it's about redistricting. It is rural, it is urban, and it is suburban. We must count everyone. And especially in our case, we have to make sure that rural Pennsylvania, and I know that you have some rural areas in the Lehigh County, that we have a concerted effort in making sure that we are counting individuals in those areas. The hard-to-count populations that have been identified by the U.S. Census Bureau, and especially they have been true to many Pennsylvania communities, young children, once again, racial and ethnic minorities. We are more diverse than ever before, and I continue to say that 20% of Pennsylvania population is minority, so we have some challenges in there. Persons who do not speak fluent English, and that's why we are coordinating through the language access policy that we have at the state level to make sure that we are providing information in the 14 languages that we have identified to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, so we are able to provide the information to those individuals. The poor. We have individuals in our own communities that they have 1, 2, or 3 jobs, that the most important and the top priority for them, especially if they see a form and they see the PPL bill, the priority for them is to pay that bill or to get food on top of the table for the children. So we have to really concentrate our efforts in the poor, the homeless, and that's why the food banks, the churches, are so important, because census workers are going to show up in places in the Lehigh Valley, and they are going to coordinate efforts with the pastors and the food banks so they can take the form to the homeless and ask them to fill out the forms for them. Undocumented immigrants, legal residents and refugees, once again, mobile individuals such as college students. In Pennsylvania we have over 500,000 college students. And we must make sure that those that are here, that they are using our services, they're using our roads. We are amazing, hospitable Pennsylvanians, but at the same time, if we can get some of the funding back because of the resources that we are providing to individuals, we must count them here. Individuals that identify themselves as LGBTQ individuals, and let me tell you, we have been having conversations with LGBTQ individuals, and some of them are complaining that they cannot identify themselves in the form. So we have to make the case that this is important to count everyone in the Commonwealth. Individuals who are angry at the government, we have many of them today, unfortunately, so we have to reach out and make sure that they know that this is important. And for those that are working in school district, early childhood education programs, please know that the #1 undercounted population are children under the age of 4. And that is because of many family circumstances. On a weekend they are with mom, the other weekend they are with dad, and when mom and dad decided to fill out the form, the kids was with somebody else, so they miss it. Or we have a lot, I know in my Latino and African American community, we have grandparents raising children. So maybe grandma and grandpa forgot or say, maybe their parents are counting the kids, so we have to make sure that we are counting all the children in Pennsylvania. The census is all about money. It is $27 billion a year, the estimate, the most consistent estimate that we have. That is about $2,093 per person. And those $2,093 per person are for individuals that are under the age, 1 day old, 100 years old, undocumented immigrants, U.S. citizens. So it's the same amount of money that we get, coming per individual to Pennsylvania. That is an investment of $20,930 per person for the next 10 years. That is $27 billion that comes back to the states. $270 billion for 10 years. And this is the tricky part about the census. we can only do it once and only once. Whatever numbers we provide to the President of the United States by December 31st of 2020, that is the number that Pennsylvania is going to be judged for the next 10 years for allocation of funding and resources. It doesn't matter, and I know that many of you are familiar with the American Community Survey. The census is in our communities every time, every year, but the only official number that Pennsylvania and resources are going to be connected is the census number that we provide to the President of the United States by December 31st of 2020. Once again, it is about fair political representation, better quality of life. I know that many of you, if you work with municipal government, CDBG funds are allocated based on census. We receive about $196 million on CDBG money every year in Pennsylvania. Safety programs, we receive in fiscal year 17, $1.68 billion to fix roads and bridges based on the data provided by Census, coming back to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, and that's why you see so many projects going on in improving roads and bridges in the Commonwealth. And it's also about dignity and respect. We get about $31 million for nutritional services for the elderly that otherwise they would probably go to bed hungry. So, and the Census, they use that data from the Census to allocate those funds. It is inclusive. There are 55 programs that use census data. In the fiscal year 2016, over $30 billion were allocated to rural programs. In PA, we got about over $760 million to rural Pennsylvania to improve conditions in rural PA. Census matters to cities, as I was mentioning before. If any municipal leader wants to provide resources and services, they should know who is living in their communities. It matters to government, for education planning. Where are we opening the next elementary school in Bethlehem, PA, or in Allentown if the city continues to grow? The demographic composition of our community, where is the Latino community, African American community, what are the services that we need to provide, allocation of resources, and a way to provide financial assistance where it's needed. Census matter to community stakeholders. If you are employed in a hospital, for example, hospitals right now are making tough decisions of where the next hospital is going to be open in the Lehigh Valley, or maybe moving it outside to the rural areas. And open hospitals in there. It's for socioeconomic research of communities. Many colleges and universities are looking at the census to see where the workforce of the future is going to be. And if they have to eliminate some bachelor's degree and create new ones because of the workforce of the future. And then it provides statistical metrics using journalism and news reporting. According to the George Washington Institute of Public Policy, 1% undercount for Pennsylvania, just 1%, would cost the state over $22 million a year. Just 1%. Imagine that we only have a count in Pennsylvania of about 79, 80%. So we were losing 20% of the population. Multiply that by 22 million a year. And that is the amount of money that we are losing out getting from the federal government. In conclusion, once again, the census is an essential policy tool for state government, county government, and local municipalities. The federal government depends on census data to allocate resources. State government use census data to draw legislative districts. And almost everything that we know of who we are as a nation comes from census data. So please help us in making sure that we have the most successful and complete and accurate count in Pennsylvania history by being a partner in Census 2020. Thank you.